actively as an entrepreneur. I'm going to come on screen just for a second so that we can relate and that you can see I'm actually human. As introduced earlier on, my name is Stuart Samkange, proudly from Zimbabwe. And I understand that most of you who are watching today are actually from Zimbabwe. So I greet you all and I hope that you're well. The session, as I said, is coming from my experience, one as a LinkedIn employee working currently today with enterprises that are looking for talent like yourself. I also get the opportunity to lead the LinkedIn initiative, which is across Africa that we call the Graduate Activation Program. What I do with that program is that we visit universities, we work with career services professionals, we work with those who work with the alumni, and we try and help students move from the classroom into the corporate world. We help them by having sessions like the one we're having today, where we talk about building you a credible professional network and how you can also build out your personal brand. So it is from those two perspectives that I'll be speaking to you from. One, in where I speak to hiring managers, recruiters on a daily basis. And then on the other hand, how I speak to organizations and of course, universities and students like yourself. So I'm going to switch off camera so we can save on the bandwidth and we can get straight into the slides that we've got, which will be an anchor point for the discussions we're having today. You will get the recording, and with that recording, you'll be able to watch the playback and again, learn from reading what's on the slides. I just want to check if we've got recording going, Tapiwa.
Yes, I've started the recording.
We've started the recording. And as we said, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat section so that we can, when we take breaks, we'll be able to answer those questions. So what to expect today in this Rock Your Profile session? You saw me wearing my Rock Your Profile hat. In this session, we're going to demystify LinkedIn and really try and outline what is the difference between LinkedIn and all the other social media platforms where we have an active presence. We'll talk about how you build your own professional brand as a student or a budding professional or as a recent graduate. We'll talk about what are the essence of a LinkedIn profile. And then we'll talk about what you can do beyond just building the profile in terms of now building out a credible network of professionals that can either give you access to opportunities. At LinkedIn, we talk about opportunities. Opportunities include jobs, learning, mentorship, coaching, opportunities to supply products, services, and goods. So there's multiple things you can do on this professional network. And we'll talk about some of those things in this session. And then for those of you who are specifically looking to go into the job market, we'll talk about how you can leverage the investments LinkedIn has made that will make your job search a lot easier on the platform. And of course, I'll give some bonus tips of what you can do to be exceptional on your journey. But let us start off by demystifying LinkedIn in comparison to other platforms that you might be familiar with. In order to do this, and in order for all of us to be on the same level of playing field, I chose the analogy of donuts because all of us have seen or eaten donuts before, and we might have a preference or not for donuts, but we can all relate. If we were to talk about donuts or our appreciation of donuts, if we were to do that on a platform, on social media platforms where we tend to spend our time, this is how we might do it using the various platforms that are out there and available. Alternatively, the conversation when we get onto LinkedIn is of more a professional mindset, a mindset where you're looking to build, a mindset where you're looking to teach, a mindset where you're looking to engage, a mindset where you're looking to explore business and professional things related to your love of donuts. So it could be looking to connect with other professionals. It could be looking to participate in conversations with other professionals that are in that industry that you want to work in. So I hope that's given you a bit of an idea of how we differentiate LinkedIn from the other platforms. But it's not to say on LinkedIn, it's all professional in the things that we post. Here's an example. The student experience you might be going through today. the hardships your parents or someone else might be facing in order for you to get to where you are might provide a compelling story, a story of gratitude, a story of appreciation, a story of the values that have made you who you are. You can put that story in a professional context on LinkedIn. And what it will do for you, as I've seen it happen with other students, it's help them connect with the world that's out there of professionals, the people who could hire them, the people who can empathize and give you tips on your job search, the people who could otherwise provide introductions for you to gain access to a job. So I'd share the other social media platforms as well, so that I can bring up one key important point that I've realized as I've spoken in universities is that we need to be mindful of our brands. Each and every one of us is a brand. Your name is unique. So how we behave on other social media platforms, let us be conscious of the fact that when we're looking for jobs, these people that do the searches, the recruiters, the talent acquisition professionals, the hiring managers, the directors, they do searches also on our other profiles. So when it comes to other social media platforms, perhaps you could say, if it's too different from what you want to project from your professional perspective, then perhaps it's maybe too wise to use just a first name. And then on LinkedIn, where you want your full identity, which those who you went to school with, those who you have been mentored and coached by, can relate and can find you. Let us be mindful on how we behave on these platforms, because our brands will speak about us when we're not in the room. Speaking of the room and speaking of the globe at large, just for you to understand what LinkedIn is and how big and broad LinkedIn is, and more importantly, in the time that we're living in, the opportunity for you as a young professional is phenomenal and is unlimited, because the world of work has changed. Recruiters that I work with today are willing to consider people to provide remote work. Remote work to allow them to quickly fill the digital gaps or the technical gaps that they may have as an organization. They don't now think about relocating you across the world, but they think about how quickly you can provide remote work. So what that means for you as a young professional is that as you look at LinkedIn, don't look at it only from the context of the geography that you're currently sitting in, but think of it in terms of the globe at large. Here's a quick representation of our members and their presence across multiple places across the globe. Excuse me, I'm human after all. It seems like I'm getting my words mixed up, but it's a lot of numbers to digest. What is important for you to know as a young professional? What's important for you to know is that you can reach on this platform an audience of a possible 722 million members. What does that mean? That means as you start defining your own personal brand, your own personal story, you can look amongst these 722 million professionals that are on the platform, see how they've shaped their careers. What extracurricular activities do they do? What education do they take on? Which groups are they participating in? Because this will help you start mapping out your own career and your own trajectory. Again, on LinkedIn, there's well over 55 million companies represented. So what does this mean to you as a young professional? This means if I'm looking for a job in company X, I can go in on LinkedIn and understand their culture, their values, and how that organization is set up. Not only can I do that, I can look up their competitors so that when I get an opportunity for an interview, I am able to articulate some of the different game differentiators or the differences or the value propositions that I've observed about their company versus the competitors. This will show the recruiter my willingness to want to work for them and understand them. On LinkedIn, there's well over 11 million jobs represented. For those of you interested in the jobs and how to find these jobs, internships, and volunteer work, I've got a section later on in this presentation that is dedicated specifically for us to go through that. If there's any number that I want you to have top of mind as we go through this session, it's this number. LinkedIn is growing at a rate of 3 members per second. That means as a young professional, for us to be heard on an audience and a platform that has 722 million, we need to be consistent in our engagement. We'll get into how we do that engagement on this session as we go through some of these slides. But here's some other facts that might appeal to some of you who are looking for jobs. In terms of delivering value, over 4 million hires were made on LinkedIn in just the last 12 months. And if you work that out, that is 8 hires every minute. That means there is opportunity on this platform. We just need to be more intentional and more strategic about how we go about representing ourselves and then doing the job searches. And I want to show you some smart tips on how you can do that. Just want to check in if the sound is great and if we're pacing well, if there's any questions, or if I may proceed.
Currently, there aren't any questions. We can hear you great. If you have any questions for those people who've joined us late, please just send a message into the chat.
Superb. Okay, so where does this journey begin? I actually want to begin this journey about talking about you as an individual. Some of you who like hip hop music might know the artist Jay-Z. I love the story because I heard Jay-Z was interviewed one time. He had changed his dress code. He was wearing a pinstripe suit and he was wearing a white shirt and a tie. He was looking immaculate. A reporter asked him and said, Jay-Z, what's happened to the Rockefeller jeans, the t-shirts, the gold chains, the caps, and of course, the nice sneakers? Are you trying to be a businessman? His answer was profound. He said, I'm not trying to be a businessman. I am the business man. Now, what I love about that quote is how he broke apart the word business and man and how he defines himself as a brand. You as an individual are a brand. We talked already about your unique brandness in your name, but what we want to do now is quickly define what it takes for you to build out your professional brand so that as you start building your LinkedIn profile, it's intentional in terms of your goals, the types of organizations you want to work in, the types of people you want to connect with, the experience you're looking to gain and harness from professionals within the sector. What makes a good brand? And we're going to have a bit of an exercise about this. What makes you the individual that you are? What is the promise that you bring? What can people rely on you for? What are you best known for? Where is it that your passions, your true passions lie, and your skills and education can back up in terms of providing a skill to the world of work and a promise of delivery? If we think about brands, and here I gave an example of Nike and Adidas, what can you come to expect from a Nike or an Adidas high top? And what is the difference in terms of experience? As we think about the LinkedIn environment and the 722 members that are on that platform, there will be other students who have studied the same things that you have, but you've gone on a different journey and you are continuing to invest in yourself to make sure that you have unique value propositions that will allow you to be different, allow you to stand out, allow you to provide credibility around the things that you say you're good at and the things that you want to do and deliver on. So shaping out your brand will be the first thing that I would say in the back of your mind as you begin this journey of, I want to be on LinkedIn. Say to yourself, what is the career aspiration that I have? And if I have this career aspiration, who's the audience that I'm currently wanting to engage? Is it recruiters? Is it hiring managers? Or is it simply for me to start building out a narrative of what I've been learning? What are the things I've been doing outside of school some of the achievements, some of the volunteer experience. What is it that I want to shape, I want to put out there that will help shape out who I am and allow people to understand what my brand stands for? Jeff Amazon, who heads up, of course, Jeff Bezos, sorry, who heads up Amazon, says, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So our LinkedIn profiles, I like to think of them as being a representative of you when you're not in the room, when the recruiter is doing the search. 8 out of 10 recruiters use LinkedIn to search for people. What can they come to expect from you? And of course, as we said, what makes you unique? And in order to do that, as we shape out our professional brand, I want to give you some tips in terms of what helps define the unique value proposition that you bring and how you can build that value proposition on LinkedIn. You add skills. You add the things that you're doing in school, the projects you've worked on, the papers that you've written, the references from people that have seen you demonstrate those skills. That reference comes from, of course, building a network of the people around you. Who's been your lecturer? Who's been your coach? Who's been your mentor? Who's been the people, who are the people that you've worked with on specific projects for your university, for your college, for your school that can help build a credible version of yourself? And of course, we will start telling stories on LinkedIn that will show what we have gained in terms of experience around the areas that we want to work in. So we need to use this moment and this time of defining our professional brand to tell a story of who we are as a person holistically. Interviewing and the world of work has changed. Previously, people had the opportunity to meet you in person and ask you questions. In the world of work we're in, the first interaction that you might have might be over a video conference, a Zoom call, a Teams call, a Blue Jeans call. It could be any technology that you would have that first interaction. What we want to ensure is that what we have said on our LinkedIn profile represents the professional, the young professional we are, and that when they get to meet us, we exceed their expectations by then bringing out those values and being able to tell the story of the goals that we have and what we're doing to reach those goals. So in terms of a first exercise and homework for you, I know you are young professionals. After this session, here's what I encourage you to do. If you're struggling in defining your own personal professional brand, maybe interact with the people around you, the people who inspire you, the people who are currently mentoring and coaching you, the people who know you quite well, and say, what are the 3 things that define and describe me? And then maybe these could be the start point of building out your own personal brand. And then, of course, as we build out our LinkedIn profile, we bring that to life. And here's the beauty with LinkedIn. This brand, this story will continue to evolve. We're going to talk about the differences between LinkedIn and a CV or a resume. And one of the things I'll say right now up front is the fact that your professional brand on LinkedIn is dynamic. It's the digital billboard of the story of you, and it will change as your career and your aspirations grow. As I said earlier on, what we want to ensure as we define our professional brand is that when people search for us, our LinkedIn profiles show first and they represent us, and that anything else they do find about us as individuals does align with the person that we have said we are, both at work and socially. Are there any questions at this stage, or may I continue into looking into how we're going to build out our LinkedIn profiles? All right, I'll take that silence as there's no questions at this stage. Let us look at now how we're going to build out our LinkedIn profiles. I see we currently have people annotating on the screen. If you just give me a second, I'm just going to disable that and just clear the annotations we have so that we got a clear screen. Perfect. Can I continue?
Yes, I think we're good to go. If you have any questions, enter them in the chat or raise your hand.
Okay, super. Let's continue. So, how do we build out a LinkedIn profile? I thought the best way to start off this part of the discussion is to quickly just go through what a LinkedIn profile that is good and great, what it looks like. And then maybe perhaps this will help our discussions as we deep dive on some of the sections which need a little bit more focus. Our LinkedIn profiles, as we said, are a digital representation of ourselves. What I will tell you from my own personal experience and from seeing a number of statistics is that most people are going to interact with your LinkedIn profile first on a mobile phone. So in terms of, as I put up this slide, probably the first thing that grabbed your attention was the profile photograph. Don't underestimate this section of your LinkedIn profile. The photograph that we want to have is one that represents us from a professional perspective. So if the industry you want to work in dresses up in suits and ties, then maybe it's best to represent that image on your professional brand and on your professional story. But let us be authentic. Or if you don't want to worry too much about what to wear on your LinkedIn profile, perhaps what you could do is get your mobile phone and get someone to take you a great headshot photograph of yourself. Because if they are going to be looking at our profiles from mobile phones, the recruiters, the hiring managers, let's have a true representation where they can at least visually see who we are and be able to align with us when we get on to that first interview and call. Your profile photograph is just one way to visually represent yourself. You also have an opportunity to put in a background picture, but I'll talk about that as we go through the rest of the presentation. In terms of your headline, LinkedIn allows you to put in a custom headline. So what is the story you want to tell the world? Today, you might not be in a job, but you might be a student or a young professional about to go into a role. So perhaps this is the place where you tell the aspirational story of what journey you're on. In this example, we see Amy has said she's a gadget lover and an aspiring engineer. She could have gone further to say an aspiring engineer looking to work in the healthcare sector as an example. So that when people first interact with her profile, they're not only getting the visual representation of who she is, her name, but they're getting a representation of what journey she's currently on. This is not also the place where we say, I'm currently looking for a job. LinkedIn has a place where you can do that, and I'm going to show you. But this is, I think, the best place for you to tell a short sentence where you're saying, this is the journey I'm on, and this is the sector and the aspirations that I'd like to be in, or aspirational roles that I'd like to be in. The next part is, of course, your summary. This is where most hiring managers and recruiters spend up to 40% of their time reading on people's profiles. As I said, LinkedIn is your digital dashboard, your digital billboard, the story of you. So as your journey changes, as your aspirations change, as the career you want to have changes, you can come back in this section and edit it. Now, in this case, as you can see, it's a short summary of who you are. First of all, think of it as in meeting someone important in an elevator. If we met them in an elevator and we knew that we're only going up 5 floors together with this person, what would you do? You would introduce yourself. You would tell them what motivates you, what skills you've acquired, what skills you're currently working on, and what's next in your career journey. That's how I would put my LinkedIn profile as a young professional who's currently not in a job. Again, I want to be intentional about the words I put here. I want to make sure that the words, as I tell the story, relate with the industry or the place or the career where I want to work. So if you've taken the time to know a little bit more about the job you want to have, the type of titles they use, the problems they're solving, maybe you could borrow some of those words in terms of, here's what I'd love to do in a job. Here's the problems I'd like to help solve in this industry. So your summary is where you get to tell this dynamic story of where you are on your career journey. And as I said, we're going to spend a little bit more time on this section on a separate slide. In terms of work experience, most students that I get to interact with and graduates say, well, Stuart, what am I going to put in this section? Here you can list some of the activities and work experience that you may have had, either working perhaps in a family business, perhaps volunteering, perhaps during an internship. This is where you get to tell that story of your work ethic. Who did you work for? What did you do for them? How long? And then, of course, it'll give you a place where you can put in the dates for how long that engagement was. So think about it. You helped in the family business, you volunteered, you did an internship, or you had a job and are currently out of a job. So what we want to articulate here is, here's who I worked for, here's what I did, here's the impact that I brought, and guess what? You can even attach a photograph, a video, or something that that company uses for marketing itself. Because what it will do is that those visual attachments that you make, that will help tell your story. So wherever you volunteered, maybe that company or that organization already has a video on YouTube. You could put a link to that video over here so that when someone tries to understand who you were working for, there's a small video link there that they can watch and learn more about that institution. Perhaps you did a volunteer work and you have photographs of the work that you did there. This would be a place to put it. Perhaps you have a startup that you worked on. Maybe you have prototypes, images, or documentation, marketing documentation, whatever will help visually bring your story to life. Here's where you can put it on LinkedIn under your work experience. You also have the opportunity to articulate some of the awards and honors that you have received on your journey through your education. This helps tell the world holistically the values that you hold, the leadership qualities that you have, the experiences where you've led teams and led initiatives. So if you do have those, do put them on your LinkedIn profile, as it helps tell a story of your personal brand. I'm going to skip on to the next couple of points around what it takes to build a fantastic profile on LinkedIn. And then I'm going to take a break for questions before we resume again. So if you've got questions, throw them into the chat as I finish off on what makes a great LinkedIn profile. You've been on a career journey which has taken you through some academic institutions. In those institutions, perhaps you participated in school projects. Now, those projects and assignments, we can repurpose them on LinkedIn again to demonstrate our credibility to the world. This is who we are. This is the young professional I am. Here's the positions I've held of responsibility. Here's the thing that I contributed to and the results that we managed to bring. So you can add some of your projects and assignments and have them repurposed on this platform so that it has a broader reach. Most graduates that work on thesis will sometimes use their LinkedIn profiles to attach a small write-up around their final year project and the link that takes someone to their thesis, which might be hosted by the university's website, allowing thousands and millions of professionals worldwide to see the work that they've done and produced in their career or academic career. Other things that you can add, I'd like to jump on to where it says skills and expertise. This is a crucial one because how LinkedIn works is that when a recruiter subscribes with LinkedIn, they get the ability to search across those 722 million profiles. And when they are searching, part of their search includes searching for people based on the skills and expertise they've had, based on the education they've had. Skills and expertise allow you as an individual to put at the very minimum 5 skills that you have encountered or used or demonstrated to the point where you are right now. What will then happen on LinkedIn, if you're looking on your screen right now, under skills and expertise, you see small photographs of people represented there. What will happen on your LinkedIn profile is the people that you're connected to. your network, they will be able to endorse you and say, yes, I have seen you demonstrate leadership qualities. I have seen you demonstrate skills around artificial intelligence, around robotics. I have seen you demonstrate skills around Microsoft Word, Excel. When they endorse us, this helps build our social capital. This helps build our profile in terms of searchability and being able to be found by recruiters and hiring managers, which is why it's going to be intentional for us to build a network, not just of friends, but people that are within the industries we want to work with, the people that are within the same academic sphere that we're coming from, so that they can help lend credibility to our persons. If you have volunteered as an individual or as part of your school or institution, I urge you to add your volunteer experience on LinkedIn. As I've said, the world of work and recruiting has changed. Recruiters no longer have the opportunity to meet you in person. So what you can do to help them is to go and put in your volunteer experience, because this helps tell the story of holistically who you are. What are you contributing to society for no return? Maybe some of these initiatives that you are participating in, mentoring, coaching, etc., could be leveraged in our company. Because in our company, we have initiatives around helping communities, around mentoring them, around coaching them. So when you show that you have this spirit, or you have this purpose in life to help contribute to the well-being of society, and you show the activities that you've participated in and the organizations that you were participating in, this helps tell your brand story when you're not in the room. In terms of education, I urge you to make sure that when you put in the name of your school, make sure the logo of the school is showing. What this does for you as a young professional is that when you say, I went to the University of Zimbabwe, University of Pretoria, University of Strathmore, or wherever it is that you went to school, it will connect you up with the school's alumni. And where that becomes powerful is that when you're searching for jobs, or when your alumni is looking for young professionals to bring in as interns into their companies, into their organizations, they might look at their old school alumni and say, you know what, I have an internship that's available. Who in my network from my old school can I give this opportunity to? So make sure that the logo of the school is showing as you type it in. Now, the best way to do this, I say, is type in the first 5 letters of the naming of your school. LinkedIn will then surface all things that are related to those 5 letters that you've typed in. So if it was University of Pretoria, it would be, I'll type in University of P-R-E-T-R, and then I'll see what would come up, and I'll choose my university. This will ensure you're connected to the alumni. You'll also see later in this session why alumni is important, because you are going to go into your alumni on your university page and look for people who have studied the same thing you have studied, who have gone through your university, see where they live, see what jobs they're in, and perhaps they can start helping you shape out your CV, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your interviewing skills, help you understand the types of companies they're in and the problems they have and the opportunities where you can go in and work. The last thing I want to highlight here is recommendations. And literally on recommendations, the people we've interacted with can attest on LinkedIn that they know us and they've seen certain skills, experience demonstrated by ourselves. This could be our lecturers, this could be our headmasters, this could be the people we worked with on projects where we were interns or volunteers, or even the companies where we have worked for brief times or are currently working. When people recommend you, you're making it easier for the recruiter in terms of their work. Because not only are they seeing your education, the projects, the skills, the honors you've received, your volunteer experience, but now they're getting to see the people who are willing to vouch for you. You're saving them time in terms of picking up a phone and having to call up people and get information about you. And this is one of the distinct advantages and differences between LinkedIn and a resume. Because on a resume and a CV, you say references will be provided upon request. That means the recruiter's got to come back to you, ask you, who are the 3 people you recommend? Give me phone numbers, emails. Then they got to schedule calls, reach out to those people, try and understand from a phone call, who is this person? What position are they in? How well do they know this person? And where are they in their career journey? On LinkedIn, through this recommendation that your headmaster, your former boss, your current boss, your mentor, your coach are on, the recruiter can now see this is the person who's recommending. They're currently a director at this organization. They say they've seen this skill in this young person and that they can attest to it and that this happened within this time frame. That is making their work easier. I hope by sharing some of these top points, you already have some view in terms of what should be on a LinkedIn profile. For the rest of the session, we're going to be going through some of the key areas where you might need to pay special attention. But overall, this is what would make a great LinkedIn profile. I'll stop at this point and just check in if we've got any questions. I hope there are questions and that you're interacting with the session and that you're learning something, and that after this session, you'll be able to share and help someone else build their LinkedIn profile. So I'll stop here for a moment and check what questions we have. I'll take 3.
Hi, if you'd like to ask a question, just raise your hand and you can just speak on your question.
Do we have any questions from the poll that was set? Oh, Brenda seems to have lifted up her hand. Are we taking her off mute or is she typing in the question?
She's off mute now.
Hey, Brenda, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for the brilliant presentation. I am really excited about what I've been able to learn. I wanted to find out how much is too much to write in, on LinkedIn, especially with the hacking and all. I'm just a little worried. I started stuff and then I don't know how deep I should go about myself. I'm talking about recent happenings, and just want to be sure that I'm okay to write as much as possible.
Well, there would be no LinkedIn without members like yourself, and we thank you for being on the platform. At LinkedIn, our company value, our core purpose is putting you as members first. So even in terms of some of the things that we make available on LinkedIn, the type of data that we ask you for, we are very mindful about your member experience. Having said that, you as a member can go into your LinkedIn profile under the settings and go there and choose what people can see about you. I have, for example, recruiters who choose that if I've not connected with someone, I don't want them to see my photograph, for example. So people can search for them, but the photograph, for example, might be withheld. Others might choose that as I work on my profile today, I don't want the whole world to see all the changes that I'm making. And that when I've finished making these changes, then I can now mindfully say, here's who I want to see this information about myself on LinkedIn. So you have a responsibility and an opportunity as a member to go in and choose what information you want people to see about yourself. Secondly, we at LinkedIn care about you as a member, because if there was no member first mentality, there would be no LinkedIn. So we're also very cautious about data and how it's used. As a member, you also have the opportunity to report if someone is not representing themselves well, if you find there's abusive language or anything else that might be upsetting your member experience. I've used LinkedIn for several years, and many professionals worldwide are using it. Like we said, over 722 million. I believe by representing myself on this platform, I'm able to access opportunities. To give you a small background, all three of my last jobs have come as a result of LinkedIn and using LinkedIn, not actively applying for the jobs, but representing my purpose and my passion on this platform. I've then had hiring managers reach out and say, you know what, we have a job that looks like it will be perfect for you, would like to give it to you, but we now need you to formally apply. So this is the one place where we can represent our aspirations to a professional community. So that's the mindset I'd urge you to have as you think about what information you want to share on this platform.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. So there being no other questions and being mindful of
I have a few
time.
questions in the chat.
Oh, okay, super.
That
Then
have just been added.
go ahead. I'll take two more and then we'll break for some more questions.
So there's a question of, can you control what recommendations people can see? And would you like me to ask the next one as well?
No, I love that one. That's a beautiful one. It's a quick one and I'll answer right away. Yes, you can control what recommendations people make. So here's what happens with recommendations. First of all, you can reach out to people and say, please recommend me. As a young student, if you're working, for example, on a student project at the university, and maybe you're reaching out to a lecturer or you're reaching out to a faculty head or the vice chancellor, you might want to remind them who you are and the project you worked on. So reach out to them by first clicking the button for asking for recommendation. You have the opportunity to then type in and say, dear Vice Chancellor, I was in the university from this time to this time. I worked on this student project. Here's the results that we brought. I'm asking you kindly to recommend me. This helps jog their memory, and then they will then either use your own words to recommend you. And when they do recommend you, it comes back first to your inbox so that you can approve it for then putting onto your profile. So recommendations you can choose to show and not to show. As also, having said about recommendations, I encourage you to recommend the people who have helped you become the dynamic young professional you are. So if there was a lecturer that had phenomenal impact on where you are on your career journey, I encourage you to go in on LinkedIn, search for them, and give them a recommendation that's authentic. What this does for you is that when that recruiter searches for you, they're seeing not only the recommendations you've received, but those that you've given. Imagine what it's saying about your generous nature and your generous spirit when you become a teammate at that organization. One more question, and then we'll carry on and come back for questions again.
So another question is it advisable to post achievements such as academic final test results, or is it better to just post that you have attained a degree?
All right, so you got two choices around that. So in terms of putting in your educational qualifications, definitely you'd want to put those in on LinkedIn. In terms of putting in the details around it, yes, I encourage you to put the details around it, because like we said, the way LinkedIn or the way recruiters or hiring managers use LinkedIn is that they do searches. And when they're searching, it's quite possible that in your degree, there's certain subtopics that you might not have shown if you just put in the degree or the top line diploma that you achieved. By putting in the subtopics and the sub areas which you studied on, what it will do is that when that recruiter searches by that particular skill, you have highlighted it as one of the things that you studied and that you went and had an experience on during your academic journey. So definitely put in the detail. It does help because everything on your LinkedIn profile is searchable. All right.
Great. We have one quick question that kind of ties into all of this.
All right, go ahead.
It's been asked a couple of times now. And so the question is LinkedIn working on ways to ensure that referees who are not on the platform can still recommend you?
Okay. So yes, work in progress. But for now, what I can confirm for you is that those who are on the platform can give you those recommendations. So that's what's currently available on the platform. How are we doing for time, and how much time have I got before we can take questions?
Awesome. I think we're doing good. You could probably continue with the rest of your presentation, and then we can move on to questions.
All right, red flag me when I've got 10 minutes left so that I can bring it all in. So
Sounds
guys
good.
and girls, and those who are listening, thank you very much for your attention so far. As I said, LinkedIn, there are some fundamental differences between it and your resume and CV. These are on the screen. I know you all have been reading up as I've been talking and answering some of the questions, but I now want us to go into how these differences will be seen by taking some key actions. Like I said, on LinkedIn, we can do a visual representation of ourselves. And as I said, let's make it a professional photograph. A headshot photograph of yourself with a warm, welcoming smile usually is a good thing to have. Again, don't have photographs that have other people in there, maybe a dog, a pet, a social photograph. You want this to represent your best professional sense. And as we said, best practice says you have the opportunity to dress for the job and the industry that you want to work in. And of course, you can go on LinkedIn to look at other people's profiles and see how they've represented themselves. On LinkedIn, like I said, we have the opportunity to visually stimulate and engage people. I mentioned first our photograph. What I didn't mention, as you can see on the screen right now, is this background. In this particular case, she's got, I think, a photograph of a pond with a fish pond, or that's what it looks like to me. But here's the thing, she's a creative director, so maybe she can speak to how that pond influences her deep thinking, her open-mindedness, or her way of engaging with ideas that are creative. You can use an image, a photograph, to represent the industry that you want to work in. You can use this space, perhaps right now, as you are in between jobs, to represent what you might be doing as an entrepreneur. Maybe this could be a headline photograph of the products, the solutions, the types of industry, the activities that you're doing. Whatever you think will help start telling the story and visually stimulating and helping people remember you, you can put in an image at the back of your photograph. What's more, in terms of key things that I said you should and look at immediately after this session in terms of updating on your profile, the critical ones would be, first of all, your location, where you are. Not where you would like to work, but where you are today. Where we would like to work, the aspirational geographies and countries we want to work in, I'll show you where you can put that in later. In terms of work and experience, like I said, we have an opportunity to tell that story. And as we tell that story of work and experience and internships that we've done, let us highlight who we worked for, what work we did, what impact and results that we brought in, and of course, what we learned from it. That's what people want to see in your work experience. It's not bullet points with the job description. It's you telling the story of what work and impact and results you brought in. That's what helps you stand out. And also keeping in mind that all words that we use here are searchable. Our volunteer experience, I said, you'll get up to 6 times more views on your profile based on you having your volunteer experience. Your education and certifications, we've spoken about these. And as we have said also, it's important for us to put in any institutions or companies that we've been affiliated with, we put them in our LinkedIn profile. Unlike our resume, this profile will continue to grow as our careers grow. So you will continue to add on it much more easier as your career moves forward. You can edit your LinkedIn profile using a laptop or even your mobile phone. And I think that's super cool and makes it easy to continuously update it. In terms of your headline, like we said, where are you on your career journey? What is the one thing you want people to remember about you, your uniqueness? What is the value, the skill that you have that will help you stand out? And things that you believe the recruiter or the hiring manager will care about. That's what should be your headline. In terms of your summary, like I said, typically, this is where people spend up to 40% of their time trying to understand the type of person you are. So introduce yourself. Talk about the journey that you've been on, what you've studied, what skills you've acquired, and the aspirations that you would like, and that you have for your career, your future as a professional. Talk about key skills. What are you doing right now as a student? What are you doing as an entrepreneur before you land that executive job or the job that you dream about? What are you doing to prove and to exercise those muscles so that you can prove that you have those skills? So are you writing articles on LinkedIn? Are you attaching videos of the work that you're doing? Are you attaching PDFs that show the work you're doing? Are you telling people that as much as I am on LinkedIn, you can find further proof of the work that I do in podcasting, photography, fashion? You can find all of that maybe on these other channels, Instagram, YouTube, etc. This is where we want to start telling our professional story, but allow people to start getting full access to the professional story we want to tell. And that's why I said in the other channels, if you're using your full name, know that they can search in those channels to get a representation of how you behave on those platforms. So if we are looking to bring synergy to this, so let me give you an example. For myself, I have, of course, my LinkedIn profile, which you can search and reach out to me to connect. I also have a YouTube channel. I also have a Twitter handle. Why? Because on Twitter, I can be very brief and I can be quick and succinct about my messages. On LinkedIn, I can tell my professional story. And on YouTube, I can put recordings of video sessions like this so that others can learn from sessions that I've run. So I put that all in my LinkedIn profile and allow my professional network to begin to understand me from one single point and one single point of truth. In terms of jobs and how we leverage our network and go out into the world to effectively build our credibility and get access to economic opportunities, I wanted you to know that your network is probably the most powerful thing that will gain you access to that next job, to that opportunity to provide products, services, and goods. So on LinkedIn, how does your network work? Your first degree connections are the people that you know. And each and every one of us has a network. Networking occurs every day. We meet someone, professional, acquaintances, volunteers, etc., in social activities. When we network, the key factor here is that it will help your career advancement. 50% of people working today who are employed have found their jobs through their network. So our first degree network are the people we know. And on LinkedIn, it's not a popularity contest of how many people you can connect with. You want to connect with people you know, people in the industries you want to work in, and people that can help you grow. Our second degree network exists now in terms of the people we know, the people that they know. Right? We might know these people, might not interact with them as often. These might be what we consider our weak connections or acquaintances. But on LinkedIn, your first degree connections are those, as I said, already in your network. Your second degree connections are people that your network knows and share a connection with. More importantly, there's what we call the third degree connection on LinkedIn. As your network expands on LinkedIn, as people read the things that you post, as you read other people's comments and look up their profiles, you will start getting to associate whether they are within your network, people that know people within your network, or people outside of your network. And here's something that most people don't know. Your second and your third degree connections are more likely to be valuable to you when you're searching for a job, because these networks are more diverse than the ones that you currently have. Hear me now. Your second and your third degree connections being your second and your third degree networks, these are more likely and to be more valuable to you in your job search than strong existing connections that you have in your first degree connections. What do I mean by this? For example, if my neighbor's sister works at, let's say, Microsoft, and I've met her only once, and if I wanted to work at Microsoft, she could help me find jobs there and connect me to people that are within my field. So the mindset I would like you to have is every time you connect with someone new and their own extended network, you should think of that as an extension of the network that will be accessible to you as you go out there hunting for a job. On LinkedIn, in terms of networking, I encourage you, when you reach out to someone, reach out and give them a reason why you want to connect. I've looked up your profile. I've read some of the articles you've written. I'd like to connect with you so I can learn more about this industry, so I can learn more about this profession, so I can learn more about your organization, so I can learn more about internship opportunities that you have. Give someone the reason why you want to connect. And I encourage you here not to be upfront and say, because I'm looking for a job. Show an interest in the person, show an interest in their journey, show an interest in their industry, the problems they're having. And then when you have built up the credibility, then maybe you can ask them to refer you for a job. In terms of building out our network on LinkedIn, we can add, as I said, our family and friends. We can add people we've worked with in the past. We can add people that have managed us in the past and people that we would like to connect with that will help us grow our careers. We have a choice to connect up with them, and then we have a choice to follow them. If it is a CEO, an executive outside of your reach, maybe they're in your third degree network or your third degree network, you might not want to reach out to connect. You might want to just reach out and follow them, because when you follow them, you can get all the things that they post on LinkedIn that will help you get access to a job in that company. How are we doing for time, and do we have any questions?
I think we're still good for time. Currently, there are no questions in the chat.
Superb. So like I said, LinkedIn, the difference is it's a professional network. And as I said, it's not a popularity contest. It's not about how many people you connect with. It's about being intentional about the people you connect with, because the people you connect with, what they post on LinkedIn becomes what you read in your news feed. And if we're randomly connecting with people that are not in our industry, in our vertical, in doing the jobs that we aspire for, then our experience on LinkedIn is diminished, because now we're reading about things that don't concern us or interest us. Most professionals I know use LinkedIn as their daily newspaper to know what's happening in the industry, to see what has been posted by the companies they want to work for, to see what jobs have been posted out there, to learn from other professionals what experiences they are having, to participate in groups that are speaking about the industries that they are concerned about. So LinkedIn also has the algorithm that goes in and helps you surface the people that should be part of your network. So you can go in and do searches, but at the same time, it can start suggesting for you people that can be possibly part of your network. Before clicking to connect, like I said, read up about the person. What industry are they in? How can this partnership, you connecting up with them, help you on your career journey? But it's not all about take. It's also about what can you give to that person, to that industry, right? So it's not just about take, it's also about giving. So what can you help them with in their career and in their journey as you network with them on LinkedIn? And as you reach out to people, I'm often asked, what should I say? Say who you are, how you came across that person's profile, and how you believe that person can help you. So if you're asking perhaps for a 30-minute discussion around careers in the industry, around opportunities, around their competitors, around their career journey, then this is what you should be upfront and say, this is what I'm looking for. And as I said, you want to earn their trust and credibility before asking them to recommend you for a job. In terms of leveraging your network, I want to just show you a couple of things that you can do that will accelerate your rate of success on the platform. In terms of accelerating your rate of success on the platform, particularly those who are looking for jobs, here's an interesting statistic that speaks to why it's important to build up a credible network, because you're 4 times more likely to get hired when you're referred by someone within that company. So what this means is, if I'm looking for a job, like I said, for example, at Microsoft, I would look at people at Microsoft who have the types of jobs that I am currently aspiring to be in. These would likely be my teammates, perhaps if I joined that company. I'd read their profiles. What are they articulating about the things that they're doing? Having understood that, I'll then reach out to them and say, I am seeking an informational interview. I'm seeking advice. I'm seeking to understand what it's like working for you. I want to understand the types of things you do on a daily basis, because this will help me get better understanding of the type of work industry and challenges, so that when I get that interview chance, I have the opportunity to speak with credibility. My interest in that organization will be demonstrated by the types of questions and the types of comments and the types of ways I'll be answering interview questions, because I've researched by talking to other people in that organization. And when I reach out to people for these informational interviews, I tell them, I'm not asking you to refer me to a job at this stage. I'm reaching out to just understand. Alternatively, you can reach out to people that you know and ask them to give you referrals and recommendations. More than 60% of the workforce that forms in the world today has been referred by somebody that works within that company. Show an interest in the role. Show that you've done your research. Oftentimes, I'm put off when people reach out and say, hey, Stuart, tell me what jobs LinkedIn has. It shows me that you as an individual have not even researched to see what jobs we have. I would like someone to approach me and say, I've seen this role. I have this type of experience and educational qualifications. I think I'm aligned to it, and I'd look to grow this particular skill in this role, and I'm now asking for a referral. That will then give the person who you're asking for that referral from the opportunity to help articulate your story in front of the recruiter. And as I said, with recommendations, you can give recommendations and you can request recommendations. My pro tip here is don't trade recommendations. What do I mean by trading? It means I type you one, you type me one. It should be authentic. Because on LinkedIn, like we said, we're using our real photograph, our real names, highlighting the real schools we went to, the real people we've worked with. And each one of those interactions are people that can call us out if we're not being sincere or authentic. So let's be authentic. Let's write things that are true about other people. And let's not canvas immediately for them to write something about us. I believe recommendations should be authentically given and received based on need rather than trade. Other things that you can do on LinkedIn that are going to help you on your journey before we really move on to how we start searching for jobs. I encourage you to use LinkedIn, like I said, as maybe a daily practice, your daily newspaper, where you're able to see from a professional lens what is happening in that industry, what has that company said. And as I see that content, as I see it from leaders, from employees of that company, I invest time to read up about them, to put in my own perspective on comments they've made, on things they've posted, to like some of the content, to reshare some of the content that they have posted with my own network. When you share content from someone, that is probably the best way for you to recognize them beyond liking or adding a comment. Because what you're doing is you're taking their message and sharing it with your own network and amplifying their own reach. And people appreciate this. So on LinkedIn, if you're struggling to say, what should I type? What should I share? Go and have a look at what other professionals have shared. If you agree with it, if you have your own perspective to add to it and share it with your network. On LinkedIn, as a young professional, I also urge you to join. We have over a million groups on LinkedIn for specific groups of professionals. Join a group. When you join a group, you start understanding how professionals in that sector speak, what problems they have, what opportunities are there for entrepreneurs, what opportunities are there for internships, remote work, what kind of content are they sharing as best practices. All of this you should look at as a way of enriching your knowledge, your perspective, your experience around the industry and the sector you want to work in. So join those groups so that by the time you're speaking to that hiring manager, you can say, when they ask you a question, here's a question about X, you can say, well, I participate in this group, and what I've heard from other professionals is that currently, globally, this is how people are dealing with that challenge. In my own perspective, in terms of your company and the job you're offering me, I would adopt the way you would work, but I would try and bring in some of these new ideas in terms of contributing to our business. That helps establish credibility. I heard a mic come on there. I guess there's a question. I'm happy to take it before we go into the jobs section of how we hunt for jobs on LinkedIn and wrap up today's session.
So one question that we've gotten is, in the case that you're in two different industries based on remote work or just the work that you've been doing, how do you, I guess, structure your quick summary on your profile in order to not confuse the market or to maintain your brand?
Good question. I get this quite often. I say, what is it that you want the professional world to know? Which career are you trying to build? And then you can then highlight that in terms of your details that you put on your LinkedIn profile. You can put, if you're working in two capacities, the two jobs that you're doing. And you can put a job or a work experience that is different from the industry that you'd like to work in. Here's what's happening with the world of work. As I mentioned, I work with recruiters and hiring managers. What they tell me is that organizations today want to be a representation of the diverse world that we're in. So the banks are now hiring engineers, they're hiring artists, they're hiring mechanics. Because what happens is when we hire these people, bringing in their diverse skills and experiences from different industries, and we start shaping how they communicate and educate their clients on banking sector topics, they will be better positioned to understand that garage owner, that mechanic, that entrepreneur, that artist who's looking to take a loan from us, because they've been from that sector and that industry. So the world of work is more forgiving in terms of the diverse skills that you're bringing to the table. As students and young professionals, I also urge you, don't shy away from doing volunteer work or shy away from doing part-time work. Right now, in the world of work, and as you'll soon see, one of the best trending jobs is food delivery. An Uber service, for example, to name a brand, that delivers food. This could be the job experience or the way to demonstrate your work ethic that will help you stand out from other students that say, I studied, I went job hunting while I sat at home. You've taken initiative. You've taken the initiative to take on that job delivering food, which means you're providing a community service, you're getting to know new geographical locations, you're getting to know typical spend of restaurants and customers, etc. All of this is a wealth of knowledge that you would then say, if I come into a new job, here's one thing I've learned. As I delivered food, my customer experience had to be top notch. That's how I earned my tips. The way I drove to deliver food had to be, of course, using the best route so I could save on fuel and thereby, of course, maybe increase my earnings, etc. All of these things you can then bring into the professional world of work. So I hope that helps answer your question. Do we have another
Yes,
question
thank
before
you.
we move into jobs?
I think we can move into jobs and then the Q&A session.
Okay, superb. Let's move into jobs. In terms of jobs, like we saw earlier on, and I bring it up front again, there's over 34 million job seekers on LinkedIn. And the reason why they come to LinkedIn, as we said, it is the world's biggest representation of professionals biggest representation of professionals globally. They come onto LinkedIn to study. They come onto LinkedIn to know about other people and other professions, to know what that industry has as a challenge. And then they also come onto LinkedIn to search for jobs. So I want to help you just quickly advance your ability to search for jobs by highlighting how on LinkedIn you can demonstrate that you're in the job market. Before we get into that, I guess it's pertinent again to show you what we're getting in terms of data on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, as I said, works with multiple industries out there, works with multiple hiring managers and recruiters. And what we do is also have a look at the data of jobs that they're posting on the platform, the number of people applying on the platform. And here's what our January 2021 data is showing us. Here are the jobs that are surfacing the most on LinkedIn. And as you can see, it's a broad range from the technology industry to business development opportunities to also healthcare and, of course, service delivery opportunities. All of these are represented on LinkedIn as part of the 11 million jobs that are available. And what we want to keep in mind, like I said, is the very fact that some of these jobs you'll be able to do in a remote capacity. So not all of these jobs are physically located in your geography, and you as a young professional have the opportunity to tell the world of work that you're flexible to do remote work. In terms of telling people that you're out there and you're available and you're looking for jobs, you can show recruiters that you're open to work by clicking on the Get Started button on your own personal LinkedIn profile. Right at the top right hand there, you'll see on the top card, it says Get Started. Right there, you can go in and add in the types of jobs that you're interested in, the types of job titles you're interested in, the locations you'll be interested in working in. Remember earlier on, I talked about put in your location of where you are. It was important for us to put in the location of where we are because we know up to 300,000 searches are done every week for skills in your geography. Now, on the other hand, here's location again, but here we're telling the story of the countries, the places would be happy to relocate to, and towns and provide work and services in. You also have the ability to tell the recruiters whether you're in the market immediately or you're currently in a job and that you have to serve a notice or that you're casually browsing. Remember, it's your profile. You can choose to share it with all members, or you can just choose to share this information with your own network. So we have an opportunity as individuals to already notify recruiters that we're in the market. And this again makes it easier for recruiters when they're shortlisting to know the people who are immediately available to take on the opportunities that they have. In terms of searching for jobs, we have the opportunity as individuals on our phones, on laptops, on desktop computers to search through our browsers for jobs by using keywords, such as the job title, such as the type of experience level they're looking for, or searching for jobs by the date when they were posted, or searching for jobs by the function and the location that they're based in. When we've found the jobs that we're interested in, one thing that we can do extra is to go on and set job alerts. Job alerts will now help tell LinkedIn how often LinkedIn should communicate with you via email or notifications and tell you about the jobs that have come up that are aligned to the skills and services and experience that you have said you have. This then allows you to apply for those opportunities and already be in the running for those jobs. In terms of jobs, again, what you will find is that recommendations will be made out to you based on what you have built in your profile. So the more information we've put in our profile, such as our skills, those will then start letting LinkedIn know that these are the skills that you have, and these are the types of jobs that you as an individual might be interested in. Again, LinkedIn allows us to make our job search smarter in terms of keeping track of how many jobs we've viewed, how many jobs we've saved and applied for, and how many jobs we're currently in the running for. Oftentimes people ask me, should I pay for LinkedIn Premier? If you're in the job market and you can afford it, I would urge you, this will be the one time I'll say, do get the premium account upgrade for yourself. Because when you are searching for these jobs with a premium account, it will say to you, not only has this job become available, but here's the types of people that have applied for this job, the highest level of education, the locations that they're in, and here's the hiring trends for this organization. So the premium account gives you additional insights that help you make your job search smarter. But even without a premium account, you can still search for jobs, still get alerts, and still apply for jobs. The choice is yours. In terms of applying for jobs, before you click to apply on the job, I urge you to click on the logo or the name of the organization. And when you do that, follow that company. Click the follow button, because you will start getting updates on everything that they post. This will help inform you of what is currently trending and happening in that company, so that when you get the opportunity to interview, you know their culture, you know their values, and you know some of the engagements that they're having and activities and the people who are posting from that company. Where you do this is, as I said, click on the name of the company, click to follow, and then more importantly, they have a section written Life, L-I-F-E. Click on the Life page, and then you'll start seeing more about that company, photographs of their organization, their leaders, people that work there, so that you can understand them and prepare yourself to apply for the job. Having made a few tweaks to your profile, you can then apply for the job and then start reaching out to people in that organization to start getting ready for that interview. As I said earlier on, make sure you've put in details around the school that you have attended, because when you say, make sure that you've put in the school you've attended and that the logo is showing, in this case, San Jose State University, and the logo, as long as your profile is associated with it, when someone goes to the school alumni, they're able to see where you live, where you work, well, in terms of location details, in terms of what you do and what you've studied. This helps people in terms of understanding who's available for opportunities like internships and volunteering at their organizations. Likewise, you can use your school alumni to find people that are working in jobs that you aspire to work in and start getting advice from them. In this particular example here, this person has an opportunity to reach out to 226,386 alumni who went to the same school as you, who are prepared possibly to help you as you start your career journey. As I end off this presentation, here's a couple of quick things that are going to help you gain extra credit in your job search and in building out your professional brand and getting success on LinkedIn. Number one, LinkedIn is aware of all the changes and transformation and challenges that the world of work has had. We're building out what we call the economic graph that helps advise governments, schools, and companies about the skills and the marketplace that exists in the world of work. Together with that, we're also helping the world of work and professionals and students and graduates like yourself gain the skills that are in demand. So you have an opportunity, and excuse the pun, I'll use the word opportunity again, to visit opportunity.linkedin.com to find skills that are available for you to learn and start gaining, so that, and I'm putting to your LinkedIn profile, so that you can be aligned with the 10 jobs that we have identified as being the jobs that have the greatest demand and job openings over the last 4 years. These are jobs where we know that there's a livable wage and that these jobs have these certain skills that we have provided for free for you to learn and put to your LinkedIn profile. Why is this necessary? Well, you might have a degree. What you want to do by doing these small courses is demonstrate to recruiters that you're continuing to invest in yourself, continuing to invest in your learning. And what's more, these skills that you will gain, some of them will be hard skills, some will be soft skills that will help speak to your collaboration, your communication, your time management skills. These are things that recruiters use in terms of searching. And if they can find that not only did you do a degree, but you did a soft skills course that helps support that skill, that makes you stand out on top of other students, graduates, and people aspiring for those jobs. We provide learning paths for jobs that are most in demand today. So whether it be project management, sales, whether it be IT administration, we have provided you an opportunity to learn and gain these skills that will help you have a fast start. What's more, again, on that site where I said you can gain these free skills, you can master some critical skills that will help you stand out in the interview. So how to do virtual, how to collaborate and use these virtual tools, how to use Zoom, how to use Teams, so that when you are given an opportunity to interview on Teams and they're expecting you to do a presentation, you are comfortable using the tools they give you. When they ask you to articulate your experience or to demonstrate a certain capability, you have already done a soft skills course around it and it's showing on your profile. So go to opportunity.linkedin.com to access these skills for free. As I said, you'll also find some courses there on how to prepare for interviews, what kind of questions, what kind of digital body language you should be showing, such as looking in the camera, dressing up for it, making sure your laptop is showing you in your best light. All of these, including up to 26 behavioral questions that are asked typically in interviews, you will find that we have made these available on opportunity.linkedin.com and they're available for free. When you finish those courses, add them to your LinkedIn profile so that your profile starts coming to life. I talked about those groups as homework after this session. I encourage you to go back into LinkedIn, search by industry, search by the profession you want to be in and say, are there groups in my country, in my geography, my region, in my industry that I care about, that I should maybe join to hear what other people are saying, to see what kind of experience they have, to see what kind of problems they have, which will help me in terms of getting ready to go up for interviewing. And like we said earlier on, and I was glad that the question came from you, not from myself, your privacy matters. So on LinkedIn, as we navigate and as we journey on it, always ensure that you have set the privacy settings to your comfort and to the way you want to interact on the platform. So choose what you want people to see about you, choose how often you want to get notification, choose what email address you want to show when recruiters want to reach out to you. They can reach out to you using your LinkedIn inbox, but if you want to give them your phone number, perhaps you can choose to add it here. Or you can choose to say, I only want to show those details when I am connected as a first degree connection to that individual. So always go back to your privacy settings and ensure that you have set it up for yourself to have a great experience. I hope this session has inspired you to use LinkedIn more often. As I said, I have personally benefited from using LinkedIn as an individual in terms of gaining economic access to new opportunities. I have moved from countries and moved from companies because of sharing my passion around the industry that I work in on LinkedIn. So for example, you'll find if you go to my profile, I share tips. What are you going to share from this session that we've just held? What will you share with your network? Because everything we talked about today is not a secret. What can you teach the world of work? What can you teach another professional about how they should be using LinkedIn? What story can you start telling on LinkedIn about your profession, the skills you're acquiring, how you're demonstrating credibility, who you can attest to, what comments and values do you share that other people have posted on LinkedIn that you've either liked or commented on. LinkedIn, I believe, is where your professional success will begin. I wish you all the best. I encourage you to reach out to me and connect up. I do work at scale. Unfortunately, I don't have the bandwidth to work on individual profiles, but we will share this recording so that you can again go through the slides, pick up what's key to you, and then start shaping out your own profile. On my LinkedIn profile, you'll see links to my YouTube channel, my Twitter channel, where you can go in and find other content that I've shared with other university students, young professionals, and also where I've interviewed hiring managers that will help you prepare for interviews and the world of work. I want you to use your time wisely. LinkedIn allows you to make your job search wise. It allows you to filter specifically to the industry, the sector, the companies you're interested in, and allows you to be notified when they share content and when they share jobs. And what's more, you can see the people that are working in those companies, how they represent themselves, so that you can align your profile to how that organization represents itself. Let's keep it authentic. Let's keep it professional. It's time for us to shine as individuals, representing our best selves, accessing opportunities to learn, opportunities to earn, to sell, to market, and to get jobs on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for your time. I'll take questions if there are any at this stage, and I'll stop sharing the slides that we have on the screen right now.
Currently, there are no questions in the chat, and so if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself to ask directly.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to your questions. As I said, I cover all the way from West Africa down to Southern Africa. Getting an opportunity to speak to you, I really appreciate it. It doesn't happen as often. So this is your time, your chance to ask any question that you have about LinkedIn, and I'll be more than happy to answer it for you. Do we have any questions that had been maybe shared before the session that we haven't covered?
Let me just look through the Google Doc right now.
Excellent. I see you got a couple of comments in the chat. Hello, Tapua. Hello, Arson, Cynthia. I hope this has all been a really good use of your time. Priestley says that they're going to be waiting for the link to the presentation, which is great. I encourage you, like I said, one of the ways of exercising the financial or the mental muscle that we've worked on today is, first of all, going in and working on your profile immediately after this session. The second way that you can do it is by posting on LinkedIn what you've learned in this section, in this session that we've held. I often talk about each one, teach one. Every day you have an opportunity to be a student through the life experiences that you go through. How are you then taking that student experience of the experience that you've gone through to being a teacher and sharing with the professional world what you've learned in hindsight? So on LinkedIn, let's keep our content professional. Let's share the experiences that we've had, because this will help our profiles remain top of mind and allow us to connect with those people out there. I think there is a question that's come through. Let's hear if there's from our moderator what the question is. Tapiwa?
Yes, so we have one question in the chat. It says, since people can see when you view their profile, does that come across as stalking?
So since people can see when we visited their profile, I guess it helps remind them that we've been looking at their profiles. One of the things that people also have the opportunity to do on LinkedIn, and you may see this happen with your profile, where it says literally a LinkedIn member has been looking at your profile. You may also see on your profile that a recruiter has been looking at your profile. This might not necessarily mean that they have an immediate opportunity for you. They could be just curious. They could be building talent pools. What you might want to do is have a look at their profiles, the types of roles that they typically advertise for, and then maybe perhaps you can reach out on InMail and say, I see you've been looking at my profile. Is there any additional information that I can provide or an opportunity to have a discussion? Because I'm also very keen to know more about your organization. So when people look at our profiles, it's not to say there's an immediate job today. It's to say that they've seen something that has been of interest from you as an individual. There might be pipelining for the future. So definitely we want to be polite in terms of how we approach them and how we view them looking at our own profiles. Likewise, when we look at other people's profiles, are we looking in to just look at what they've put in their profiles, or are we also looking to consume their content? Consuming people's content, commenting on it, liking it, resharing it, as I said, that's a superpower in terms of building a relationship and credibility in terms of what you know about that person and the things they're trying to solve for. I hope that helps answer the question.
Hi, Gilbert. I see you've unmuted yourself. Did you have a question? Okay, I guess not.
So I see there's a couple of people that are joining mobile. I hope you've had also a great experience. I see people like Charles are on the stream. We've got people like Ivan, we've got Kay, we've got Kelly. What questions do you have? We've facilitated for this session so that you can have a great start to your journey of searching for a job or building your professional brand. I'm here to answer those questions in the little time that we have left. Tapiwa, do we have another one that's come through?
Yes, we have one question that's just come in. Following up on the question about viewing profiles, does having more people view your profile mean that you have a good profile on LinkedIn?
It could be possibly an indicator that what you've put in your profile has made more people curious. So if you are sharing content, so here's my advice to you. Not only building a great profile is the way to represent yourself. On LinkedIn, like I said, the superpower is in sharing content. We can share content as in updates. We can share content by writing a long form article on LinkedIn. Those are the things that will reach people in our second degree and our third degree networks. Those are the things that will provide proof or show the world our interest in certain topics. So by being active on the platform, you will find that you are going to connect up with more people. More people will view your profile and take an interest in you. Like we said, by highlighting the skills that we have, the experiences, by giving other people recommendations and receiving recommendations, by posting content on LinkedIn. And when we post content, the secret power in that is to become a thumb stopper. You guys are young, you'll probably understand clickbait, but I'm not talking about that kind of clickbait. I'm talking about having an image that helps bring the point that you're illustrating to life. So for example, if you wanted to talk about the session we've held today, maybe you took a screenshot of one of the slides I posted, or you're taking a screenshot of me talking right now. You might post that on LinkedIn after this session. An average person scrolls through a mile of content every day. Think about this. The average person on a mobile device scrolls through a mile of content every day. They stop when they find a title, an image that grabs their attention. So by posting content, let's say, for example, on this session with an image from this session, and then adding your own perspective to it, that will then generate interest in people to want to know more about you, to connect to you, to follow you, and perhaps to spend more time looking at your profile. but we need to be consistently on the platform if we want our profiles to stand out. I hope that helps answer the question.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if there's any more questions. You can unmute yourself and ask if you have any questions, or we'll start wrapping up for the evening.
That's right, Shamiso. We got Takuzwa, Tasman, Tinashe. I'm here for you. What questions do you have? And anybody else that I haven't mentioned, I'm sorry. I'm just picking on a couple of people to say, what questions do you have? If not, then let us wrap up and we'll share the recording like we said, so that you can start building your profile. But like I said, start today and start helping somebody else build their profile so that you get better at doing this brand building and shaping your own story.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stuart, for joining us today. And thank you so much for sharing all of this information with us. I'm sure everyone's feeling a bit enthusiastic to go and fix their LinkedIn profiles now, including myself. So thank you so much for this. Have a good evening, everyone, and goodbye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone. Be safe, be healthy, and as usual, be kind. Thank you very much for attending the session, and I wish you well. And I can't wait to see your stories on LinkedIn. Have a good evening.